Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. If you don't say we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Well, a new day, of course, just the morning hours of today. A lot, of course, many making rounds on this is a Global Morning where we highlight some of the happenings and bring it to speed some of the news, headlines, the talking points, and the conversation, major conversation in the country, not just looking at the federal government spanning across the 36 states and, of course, the federal capital territory. We also extend views to the world and knowing better what is really on top of the world. But more often is the fact that issues of the politics is still at the top agenda, and insecurity again and again is still a major concern. The sad situation in Plateau State is drawing a whole lot of concern. How can they resolve all of these crises? The killing of more than 50 persons, in a community right there in Plateau State has continued to draw a lot of sympathetic concern. How do we begin to resolve all of these issues? No matter what it may be, some said it's religious, some said it's political. Can they stop the killing of individuals? That is still what is a concern. But our heart still goes out to the people of the Plateau State and the Middle East region due to the fact that the crisis has not just been limited to Plateau State. We've also seen that attacks to Benue State as well. So it's really a major concern for the security chiefs and those who are handling the security of the country to rise to the occasion to see what they could do just to address that situation. And then politically, the PDP governors met in Ibadan, of course, over the weekend. They had the governors meeting, and part of those resolutions were the fact that they are kicking against coalition and merging. They are saying we are not part of it, we are not having that kind of talks within our party, and a lot of persons are now questioning what is the move of the governors. Do PDP want to be alone at a time where oppositions are still trying to make some talks on merging and having to collate just to go against the APC? But whatever it may mean is that the PDP has taken a stand, the governors forum has taken a stand, of course, statutory members of the party have taken a stand by that move, saying that we are not part of the coalition and the ongoing merger. But just as you know, this show is not going to be just me riding on. I have my colleague live here on the studio. Good morning, Ramsey, and welcome to the show.
It's a beautiful day, right? And I'm so excited to be part of Global Morning today as
Absolutely.
Well, this is the Thursday tag team, and of course, like my colleague Michael Edikan has said, we have so much lined up for you on Global Morning today. But one of the things that caught my fancy while you were speaking is the fact that the PDP governors met and they are dissociating themselves from the coalition. And a question came to my mind, Which of the PDP is going to be part of the coalition? Is it the Atiku faction or the Wike faction? That's what it is. Because the house is already divided. And probably a part may join the coalition because some persons are of the opinion right now that Wike is working for the All Progressive Congress, APC, while in PDP. But they are not very sure whether or not he's even in PDP at this moment. And there is also some belief from some quarters by some Nigerians that everything happening in the other parties, beginning from Labour Party to the People's Democratic Party, and of course even SDP that has denied the membership of the former governor of Kaduna State, El Rufai, all of this put together, some persons are saying it is the handiwork of the ruling party to disorganize these other parties for them not to be able to form a merger. But Ganduje has said, well, merger or no merger, 2027 is a sure bet for the All Progressive Congress. And looking at what is happening right now, an APC chieftain on this program have said before that they don't have anyone giving them a run for their money. They don't have an opposition. And if you look at it critically, you can see that it is a free flow for the APC because there is no strong opposition right now. Nobody is holding them down. Then talking about the issue of insecurity, the people in Benue State are not sleeping right now. As I speak to you right now, some persons are in the palace of the Ochidoma in Otuko local government because they can't stay in Akpa Otobi anymore because of the crisis. And the way these people attack, they attack when people are sleeping. They come unaware, unprepared. It's a guerrilla attack they are launching on these communities. And you know what it means? Harmless Nigerians, they are armless, they don't have arms. Then you see armed headsmen coming to attack them. So I don't know. There was a
argue that you might not know if it's an headsman.
But they said, according to the people, they said they were headsmen. And one very thing I was discussing with someone yesterday, how would they know that these are headsmen? It will amaze you to know that these people are people that have been in that community for several years. There are some parts of Benue State where they even intermarry. I was speaking to someone yesterday. I said, these cattle rearers, they come and settle in these communities. In the community, you see them moving around, selling fura they don't know from house to house. Places they know in some communities, the community members don't even know it. That is how rooted and associated they are with these people in these communities. So sometimes when you see them, you should be able to know that it is these people that are doing these things. But then, if not until it is otherwise proven, you can categorically say that it is the headsmen. But that's what the people say. I think it's high time the authorities rise to the occasion. The governor, who is the #1 chief security of the state, the commissioner of police, the House of Rep member representing Akpa Otuko constituency, and of course the senator representing that zone. Something needs to be done. If we keep quiet like this, it's going to eat deeper into the fabric of the society. Before now, it has been in the northeast. Before we finish talking about Taraba, it got to Plateau State. After the killing in Plateau State, it's now everywhere in Benue State. So if nothing is being done, if we take this thing to be a joke, this country may become ungovernable for the people at the echelon one day.
The excess we have government is to protect lives and properties. Of course, that is the excess why we have government. And every time where we find insecurity, situations of this nature, a lot of persons are now pointing fingers out to the government. And of course, I was impressed by the fact that the governor of Plateau State, Caleb, was able to admit and said, "I'm sorry we failed you." Yes, because that was admitting to the fact that you owe the people to protect their lives and property. Yes, you might understand, because some person have said that the attacks are coming when the villagers are not prepared. Because many persons have said, if this is a crisis that have happened since far back 2001, why has the community not been able to see how they can begin to help themselves? But sometimes they said these attacks are coming when they are not prepared. But we got a guest for you this morning who will be coming, of course, an indigenous of those region will be coming to give us first account of what might have transpired. And not just about hearing the story and the conversation, more to that is that the security agencies must do better in terms of addressing the insecurity challenges we have in that region, not just in that region. Some part of the country are still facing the same similar challenges. There is a need to still how to have a security network. There must be a networking within the police. There must be a network within the army and all of the security agencies, so that information you gather from state A should be able to relate to state B, so that they can be able to interconnect to work with. Because with the intelligence report, some informations, tracking, some level of technology deployed to some of these areas, then we might always see the situations. But a situation where people are sleeping, where people are, just going about their normal activities, and a community is being, wasted. Almost 50 persons, of course, that's even the corpses that have been discovered. More numbers, they said.
Some houses were burned.
And some houses and properties were destroyed. It's really sad situations right there, but our heart still goes out to the people of Plateau State. But everyone, we'll go on a very quick break, and once we return from the break, we'll be looking at the major headlines for you on the national dailies, just to bring you to speed about the interaction and the conversation on the show. Do well to sit with us. We'll be right back shortly.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Welcome back from that break. It's now time for us to take you through the national dailies for the day. What are the papers saying? Which of the news is making rounds today? You deserve to know. And that's why we're bringing it to you, beginning from the Nation's newspaper this morning. Above the nameplate, I have this one which says YNBA should refund 300 million naira to Rivers by Banwo Adeborua. This one said inside CBEX 1.3 trillion naira Ponzi scam. One writer to that story and it says EFCC steps in. Details read on page 2 and 3 of the Nation's newspaper. Dangote calls petrol pump price to 890 naira. Then the second one says a presidency gives NPC a 3 weeks deadline on census report. I don't know when last we had census in this country. So what report?
2006.
2006, several years ago. I wonder the statistics they are even working with right now to do anything in Nigeria. That's how bad it is. Details you can find on page 6 of the Nation's newspaper. Then now to the big story. On the big story, it says Plateau bans night grazing. Restores vigilante patrols in move to end killing. That's not the big story. Actually, you can find that directly below the nameplate, and the details read on page 4. Now to the big story. Masari Almakura, Adamu, others will remain with Tinubu. You know who these people are. Okay, if you want to really get more details, pick a copy of the Nation's newspaper and just one write it to that story, and it says CPC blog won't quit APC. All right, let's see how it's going to go. A lot of preparation towards 2027. I keep wondering why the concentration on politicking instead of governance. The people are suffering. So many things are happening. People are no longer enjoying the dividends of democracy. But then some people don't even care. All they are doing is politicking towards 2027. Well, let's see how all of that goes. More still coming from the Nation's newspaper this morning, where this one says, PDP governors can't stop coalition train, says Atiku. PDP governors, and that's the faction I talked about earlier. This is Atiku replying the meeting of the governors that was shared by Makinde himself. As a matter of fact, one writer to that story, ex-vice president, hints of likely exit from party. It's obvious because forming a coalition, it means you're moving from the party or merging the party with other parties. But then there's a likelihood that he may be leaving the People's Democratic Party. But then the big question is, who are they really going to front as the presidential candidate? Who is going to be the flag bearer of the party? Is it Atiku? Is it, I don't know, the possibility of Peter Obi joining the coalition? But then is it going to be El Rufai? Who exactly is going to be the flag bearer of that party? Just keep your fingers crossed. You get all these details with time. And finally, from the Nation's newspaper this morning, APC takes control of Edo Assembly with 15 members to PDP's 9. All right, that's what it is. APC takes control of Edo Assembly with 15 members to PDP's 9. It's obvious that Okpebolo is doing everything possible. We even heard that he has started campaigning for the president for 2027. Even though the presidency have said, well, it is not time yet for anyone to start campaigning for them. All right, that's the size of the headlines from the Nation's newspaper this morning, as Mike will be bringing us the next paper.
Now let's get straight to the Punch, the Punching Punch newspaper this morning. Big headline right there. 800 naira to a litre petrol in sight as oil prices fall. 800 naira, that is a projection for the petrol, the PMS, as oil prices fall. What is the writer saying? PMS drops again as Dangote cuts the ex-depot rates to 835 naira to a litre. Crude oil is now at $65 from the previous 75. That is a projection, and of course it's worth celebrating this time. But the concern we may have is the fact that the fluctuating prices may not be doing us well. So sometimes you wake up today 900, 1,000 now.
800. But then will it even reflect in the fare? Because these commuters, these commercial drivers, sometimes, whether there's a drop or not, they'll tell you, do you know how much we're buying? And they refuse to drop the price of transportation.
That's why we must get the regulators to get to work to see that address. But kudos if that projection, is a reality right there. But we also have right there on the punch, EFCC and SEC move to dismantle Ponzi schemes. That's a very, worrisome conversation. I don't know if you heard of the CBEX. Some persons fell victim of it. Now they have gone with, I've seen a lot of videos of Nigerians crying out so loudly just because they invested money in it. And now the platform is not existing again. So it looks like it's another Ponzi scheme. Recall the days of MMM and all of those Ponzi schemes. So, Nigerians do not learn because every time every person I've been speaking about these quick rich syndrome, not just quick rich syndrome, I think it's greed. They tell you to bring 5,000 naira in the next 2 hours or 2 days or 3 days, or the case maybe, you get 15 or you may get 10,000, double money of what you just invested. And you've not asked valid questions. Where are these people investing this money at? Are they into real estate? Are they banking services? What are they really doing? So, a lot of Nigerians trooping, as the last time, over 1.3 trillion naira, they have been carted away from the country, over 1.3 trillion naira, and it's becoming worrisome. But the EFCC are now making move, and SEC, just to be able to see how they can dismantle Ponzi scheme. As long as many government will put an effort, individual must begin to learn lessons right there. That's a very sad situation, and of course, we really sympathize with those who had invested so much at that Ponzi schemes that are now victim of circumstances.
But Michael, you know how it feels when someone is hungry and you bring food in front of the person. Sometimes they don't even wash their hands before they start eating because of the level of the hunger. It's part of what is happening. I'm not saying greed is not part of it. I'm not saying get rich quick syndrome is not part of it. But when people are hungry, when poverty is the talk of town, people fall prey to a lot of Ponzi scheme. If not, if anybody tells me that after the massacre that MMM brought to Nigeria, we'll still have Nigerians falling victim to another Ponzi scheme, I will tell you it's a no-no. But look at it. 1.3 trillion naira in this country, in this hard economy. Well, we condole with all of you, but then I think we need to learn lesson. And it's so good that EFCC and SEC is rising to the occasion, so that we don't have that's messing up that anyway. The recovery is the probability is 1/2. They may
somebody tweeted, even with these CBX crash right now, if another Ponzi scheme comes up again,
Nigerians will
still go to
invest.
It's sad situations right there. But let's move away from that. Tinubu's France retreat sparks backlash amid the rising insecurity. Some persons are now calling on the president, please, suspend whatever you're doing in France and return back to the country, because some part of the nation brought in that part of that. Some of those persons is a former presidential candidate of Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, is calling on the president to suspend his visit to France and return back to the country to attend to the situation. But a lot of people will ask, do the president need really to be around for this?
We don't have the service chiefs around.
National Security Advisor is there, the Chief of Defense and all of that.
All these chiefs are there, IG is there, the governors are there.
These are what some persons have argued, because when you look at the 2025 budget, how much have been allocated to security, a lot of people will feel that at least we ought to have been doing things better. Technology is not deployed at those areas. We've known that these are the areas that are always prone to attacks. Why don't you take steps, not just always giving press releases, because we condemn the killing, and people are still dying.
I saw a video from Benue yesterday. They said they are tired of, we condemn. Yes. You keep condemning without doing anything. You come in convoy to these places with security operatives. After the scenario, then when you are going, you go with your security. You don't even leave securities on ground to say, okay, stay in this place for the next 1, 2, 3 weeks. You come with those security operatives, they are guiding you, they are protecting you with siren, disturbing the people. Then after that, you said we condemn this situation, we condemn this act. Then you go back with the same security, and the village become vulnerable again. I don't see much sense in it.
It's really a sad situation. A lot of persons have, of course, criticized the management of that security situation. But this is what the police said, because the IGP of police visited the governor of Plateau State. In the Plateau killings, just one of the headlines we have there on the Punch, police arrest key suspect, Governor Barnes night grazing. That's just a move right there. Every time we hear of arrests of this nature, can we begin to name names? Can people begin to feel, can they begin to pay for whatever they might have done, whatever role they might have played, just to be able to have this situation? Because it's more of a genocide, more than 50, because just as I said, these were the cops that were recovered rather, the process, and more numbers are still counting, but the sad situation is right there. But the governor has taken most to end and ban night grazing right there in the state. Northern governors in joint push against resurgent attacks. That's right on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Lots still talk about regards to the state of insecurity. Emergency rule. Rivers women protest again. Red Spanel summon Ibas. You could see some of the placards right there. Ibas, Rivers State Sole Administrator yesterday, and some women in Rivers State are in total disagreement with the emergency rule in the state. Not just having declaration of state of emergency, which is understood, but displacing the governor and suspending the governor, the deputy governor, and the House of Assembly has totally shown that democracy, is not in place in Rivers State, and that's why some women are taken to the street to protest. And I mean, someone was speaking the other time, the number of security that have been deployed to Rivers State, can they recall them to Plateau State?
I think that would be better.
So that we may not have more security in Rivers State, just to be able to implement the emergency rule and leaving the vulnerable Plateau State and Benue State. All right, right there, that's still on talks on emergency rule. 2027, coalition to unseat Tinubu getting ground, says Atiku. That you can find on page 37. We may not know how it's getting ground, because the last count, the PDP governors, which Atiku is still a member of the PDP, has not defected. Rather, up to now, as at least last we know, he has not defected to the other party. So if he's still a member of PDP, and the governors of the party are saying that we are not interested, in any major conversation. How would Atiku gathering of momentum, get to work right there?
I think Atiku is trying to encourage himself.
Yeah, well, it's politics. Anything can happen.
Anything can happen.
I heard you when you said the other time that they are not showing enough muscle, but the people may have another strategy. What works for APC in 2013 for them to collect with CPC, SCN, and other political parties to form APC. Well, opposition today may have another strategy to work, but in any case, PDP, which Atiku is still a member, as of today, says that we are not interested in any coalition. But this is what Atiku is not saying. That
I remember PDP is too.
Yes, the factions, Atiku faction and Wike's faction. A lot of dramas will unfold everyone as 2027 still counting. Hundreds of Boko Haram suspects arrested in Lagos. Nigeria calls power supply to Niger Republic. These are the few headlines we have for you on the Punch newspaper. We'll now flip over to the Daily Trust for the top stories.
Oh, thank you, Michael. Sometimes it amazes me how these people move from one state to the other, all the way to Lagos State. But then, I don't think, their success in Lagos State might be minimal because of the security situation in Lagos State and the kind of people that we have in Lagos State. But all the same, giving these people the grant to even move from one state to the other all the way to Lagos State is worrisome. That's to tell you that these guys can penetrate anywhere. But who is behind them so that others can group our fame's loyalty to APC? Tinubu amid defection speculations. All right, CPC Group affirms loyalty to APC. Tinubu amid defection speculations to the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the person of His Excellency Muhammadu Buhari is tilting towards maybe trying to withdraw members of CPC from APC, but then CPC group affirms loyalty to APC. Dangote refused petrol price again. The adjustment should be done ASAP. Nigerians can't wait for this adjustment to be done. But then, the fall and rise of this petroleum price is becoming worrisome. Today is 800, tomorrow is 900, the next day it is 1,000 naira. Let's have a stable price. But the market forces most times determine the price of this commodity. But all the same, Nigerians are waiting for when they can board vehicles at a very cheap rate, looking at the state of the nation. And of course, this one says EFCC launches manhunt for CBEX promoters, vow to recover investors' money. I pray so. Details you can find on page 10. A lot of people would want to read this because some were victors in the Ponzi scheme and some were victims. So as it is right now, both the victors and the victims have different songs in their mouth that they are singing right now. But it's so good that EFCC is launching manhunt for the promoters of this Ponzi scheme. Now to the big story on the Daily Trust newspaper. Federal government federal government makes peace move to Niger Republic. Federal government makes peace move to Niger Republic. I heard in the last paper that Michael took, where it was being said that power is being disconnected from power supply. That's electricity has been disconnected from Niger Republic.
Because of the military rule.
Because it is a military rule and their withdrawal from the economic community of West African state ECOWAS, and because of the misunderstanding. But now federal government is making peace move to Niger Republic, and just one rider to that story where it says Tuga meets with country's delegation in Niamey. All right, Niamey is the capital city. Let's see how all of that is going to go. And this one says villagers flee as gunmen attack Benue communities again. I was telling Michael before we got started, villagers are fleeing in Benue State, especially the people of Akpa Otobi, where the killing happened a few days ago. They were moved. The people don't have where to stay anymore, especially the women and children. You see them outside, you see them on the road. But some very good citizens have moved them to the chief's palace, the Ochidoma's palace, and the Ochidoma, according to the information, has taken responsibility of feeding them, taking care of them, helping them find succor until the situation comes under control. That's kudos to the Ochidoma for that. But then I think the best thing that we should be thinking about right now is how this incident will not happen again. Something happened in Kogi State. I was seeing it yesterday, where the Kogi State governor has beefed up security operatives, armed vigilante as security men to protect the territorial integrity, the properties and people of Kogi State. Why can't we have the same thing in Benue State? All right, we need people, the vigilantes. How empowered are they? Are we playing politics with everything in Benue State? This is all about lives and properties. So we need to do the needful to make sure these people live in peace. If not until the people are peaceful, you can't be a good governor. Who will you govern if the people are not there? If there is no peace in your state. So I don't think anything politics should come in there. The vigilantes should be made up of people in the community, people outside the community, and they should be empowered and armed to face these armed headsmen or whoever they are. And right now, more still coming from the Daily Trust newspaper. Boko Haram kills 6 in attacks on Adamawa community. Details you can find on page 27. And this one says 2027, that's the kick out the story. We will ride any vehicle that guarantees good governance. That's article. I think that's about who to field as the ticket bearer for the coalition party. We will field any vehicle that guarantees good governance. How will you know the vehicle that will guarantee good governance, because most times it is until these people get into office you see them bringing out their true color. As a matter of fact, that's coming from Atiku, the presidential candidate in the People's Democratic Party. Details you can find on page 12. And finally, from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, I have this one which says 26 cows killed, 42 poisoned in Plateau as governor bans night grazing. 36 cows killed and 42 poisoned in Plateau as governor bans night grazing. I think somebody was saying something and I was thinking about it. Sometimes you need to be very logical when things are happening. What is the benefit of this cow? A lot of people are making money from it. It is being used as meat. All right, people eat it as protein. And some persons said it contains cholesterol, some abstain from it. Then some persons said it is a major source of milk, all right, for some persons, as the case may be. But then, if this cow is not there, wouldn't there be alternative means of protein? Wouldn't there be alternative means of maybe getting milk? These are the things Nigerians should be thinking about. Because if the business of cattle rearing is not that lucrative in the country, maybe there will be a calm. But then, who knows if it is even these herdsmen that are launching this attack? Because in the time past, some persons have said some of these people attacking these communities are even aliens. They are not from this country. Some were imported into this country by some persons to destabilize a certain government, and the situation escalated. Well, all of this put together, Nigerians are saying, all we are saying, give us peace in this country. And that's going to be the size of the headlines from the Daily Trust newspaper this morning.
Well, I'll turn attention down to the Daily Times newspaper this morning. At the top of the paper, courts votes Obasa removal as a speaker. Declares action unconstitutional. That you can find on page 12. This is coming almost a month after the president had resolved the crisis in the Lagos State House of Assembly. And these are always a problem. You know, the court judgment coming after steps has been taken. But well, it clearly looks that no matter the days it counts, justice is always obtainable. That while the court has voided the removal of Speaker Obasa, saying that the action is unconstitutional. Big story right here on the Daily Times. Tinubu tax experts on roadmap for first digital census in 18 years. Looking at 2006 up to now, we saw the preparation of the last administration moves to conduct census, even when it's not what came to pass. But a lot of persons are looking at how do you make economic decision? How do you, vote money for the poor? How do you do this? How do you build infrastructure? How do you know the needs of a particular region and all of that without census? And these are the issues that have been raised right there. But the government is now making moves just to be able to have a first digital census, to be able to capture everyone in the country and to have a proper data to work with. And this may help in government programs and policies, even the poverty alleviation programs and schemes. These are the statistics that must be needed. We may not have development without getting our statistics right. We need to know the number. We need to know the number that we have so that we can begin to see how we can tackle the problems of the country. TSA reps orders financial tech firm Remita to refund over 182 billion naira to federal government. That's from the House of Representatives. We also have an article right there on the Daily Times. Nigeria, a wounded, bleeding nation. That article is credited to Kaigama, writing on the state of the nations and describing Nigeria as a wounded, bleeding nation. A constituted special commission of inquiry on NNPCL's activities under carry. Coalition urges Tinubu. That, of course, and calling for an account from the last NNPC boss, saying that there must be a scrutiny to know the activities and to inquire. I mean, all that the commission, the NNPC were doing at the period where Kerry was the MD and the chairman of the NNPC, and that's why they are calling for a special committee to investigate all of that matters. And in politics, 23 defunct CPC leaders pledged support for Tinubu APC. There were a lot of concerns that were raised earlier that some CPC bloc, those who came together in 2013 to form APC, defecting from the APC. They are dissociating themselves from the APC, but they have come out with a press statement just to be able to counter that and saying that they are still in total support of APC. The likes of former governor of Kaduna, Nasir Rufai, was also coming from the defunct CPC. And those that are having a concern that he may have an influence over the party, and that's the reason why he's making moves to recall some of his members from the APC. But some members already are saying that, look, we're going nowhere. We are standing with President Bola Tinubu for 2027. So it's still a major work, a lot of work for the opposition just to be able to gather the numbers. But that is what we have right now at the Daily Times. So now I'm turning attention to the Guardian newspaper for you this morning.
Yes, of course, from the Guardian newspaper this morning, as we try to round up to make way for the AM news at 8 o'clock. Suspend France trip to address insecurity, Obi tells Tinubu. Details you can find on page 3. Federal government, World Bank in fresh $17 billion poverty reduction deal. Details on page 3. I think, that's tilting towards another borrowing, if I don't know. But then, federal government, World Bank in fresh $17 billion poverty reduction deal. What's the deal all about? I think we should know what it's all about so that we don't get into too much borrowing. Dangote crashes petrol price by 30 naira per liter. The last time it was 65 naira. And of course, he refines 3.5 billion liters in 7 months. Dangote crashes petrol price by 30 naira per liter, refines 3.5 billion liters in 7 months. The good news is that the price is going to reduce. Then the big story says a national head count. Insecurity, economic concern trail Tinubu's push for fresh census. Very important. All right. Insecurity and the economic concern trail Tinubu's push for fresh census. Details you can find on page 6. And of course, we have more fresh killing in Benue community. Claim 10. The picture of the governor of Benue State, Hyacinth Alia, is right there beside the story, and you can find our story on page 30. Then this one says, Rep summon sole administrator as Rivers women demand end to emergency rule. Details read on page 7. A federal government launches plan, approves 15 billion naira to curb food disaster. If food disaster has been curbed, then we'll have a lot to eat, because the problem we have in this country right now is food disaster. People don't go to farm anymore because of the security situation. Insecurity everywhere. Going to farm has become a big deal, or else we should have food everywhere. But then, if this is being curbed, then we'll have much to eat and drink. This one says REA Lagos to replace over 4 million generators with rooftop solar. I was speaking with someone. I said, if a country where everything is working, since we're having issues with power, the only alternative now is to provide solar energy for everyone in this country, and that will serve better. But then sometimes you still need power to even charge these inverters sometimes. All the same, let's see how all of this is going to go. This is for Lagos State. What about the other states? More still coming from the Guardian newspaper. Lukman alleges PDP governors aiding Tinubu as Atiku intensifies coalition agenda. All right. This one says, of course, Abudu makes teams 100 most influential people in the world. That's from the entertainment scene. And finally, from the Guardian newspaper this morning, don't lose faith in democracy. INEC chairman tells African youths. Well, I heard when the INEC chairman was speaking in that meeting he attended, and of course how he was saying things, how an election is supposed to be, and some persons were saying how is election like in your own country and all of that. But it's so good that he's making this statement that they shouldn't lose faith in democracy, especially African youths, not just Nigerian youths, but all African youths. And all of this boils down to the credibility of the regulatory body, the body in charge of this election, which is INEC for Nigeria, and other African countries also have bodies in charge of the conduct of elections. Well, that's going to be the size of the Guardian, the stories from the Guardian newspaper this morning. Our time is fast spent.
And then on the top of the hour, we bring in to you the news at AM. And of course, the interaction follows afterwards as we continue to track the news, concerns towards insecurity in the nations and the developments coming from Rivers State. The sole administrator, the House of Representatives has set up a special committee to legislate over the affairs of Rivers State on the interim pending the return of the House of Assembly under the governor and the deputy governor that were suspended. The sole administrator has, of course, been invited by the House of Representatives for some questions and some concerns that have been raised. A protest yesterday led by some women are saying that we do not want sole administrator. The sole administrator is actually taking orders from the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. That is still generating a lot of concern. Because the intention of the president was to appoint the sole administrator to bring a lasting peace towards Rivers State. But the question is, month after or thereabouts, has there been any means of peace restored completely in the state? These are the questions some have asked. And would this also mean that if this peace is not resolved, there's a tendency that the 6 months that was initially given to the sole administrator may be increased or also adjusted just to be able to affect the tenure of Sibili Fubara? That is still a question that have been asked by many. But at the top of the hour, we'll be bringing to you the AM news, and afterwards, the interaction continues here on Global TV. Just well to stay with us. We'll be right back.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Hello and welcome to Air News live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Edikan Michael. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. You can also download the Global TV Nigeria mobile app for Android and iOS devices to keep track of our broadcast. President Bola Tinubu has officially launched the Labour Employment and Empowerment Program, LEAP, a new national initiative aimed at creating at least 2.5 million sustainable jobs within the 2 years and transforming the Ministry of Labour and Employment into a job-creating powerhouse. Tinubu, the program's launch in Abuja, declared as the administration's most comprehensive response yet to the mounting challenge of youth unemployment and the disruptive forces reshaping the global market. He was represented by Vice President Kashim Shettima. He says, in the face of the digital revolution that is rendering traditional jobs obsolete, their future depends on how well they equip the people to not just survive but to lead in this new world. And youth involvement in crime is on the rise, and the growing trend is sparking serious concern across the nation. That from the petty theft to cyber fraud and violent offenses, the signs are becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. Our correspondent Amarchive was on the street of Owerri, now has a report.
We move into the streets of Owerri. The streets echo with conversations about the root causes. Many residents blame widespread unemployment, deepening poverty, and the pressure to keep up with peers. Others point to the relentless pursuit of quick money as a dangerous motivator, leading young people astray.
Poverty, unemployment, they've been addicted to drug or drug abuse, and also societal negligence.
The hardship in the country is one of the major reasons why youths go into crime. Another angle is also when pressure group trying to meet up with some certain things that life can offer makes youth go into crime.
Well, nowadays youth don't want to work. They are looking for sharp money. So most of them go into money rituals. They do Yahoo, some are doing runs. The new name they are calling now is hookup girls.
Public affairs analyst Fidel Onyeneke says the solution lies in targeted policies that empower the youth, giving them opportunities to thrive within the system rather than outside it.
We have not mainstreamed the activities and development of youth in our governance, act of governance, in our policies and so on. There are certain policies that we are supposed to make that will make the youth appreciate the fact that they are part of the society. Regrettably and unfortunately, such policies are not being implemented, even when we have them in the country. For any society to make it, for any government to achieve anything, you must mainstream the development of youth in the act of governance.
Traditional ruler of Avon Autonomous Community, Eze Mike Okere, believes tackling drug abuse and engaging young people in meaningful ventures are critical steps in addressing the crisis.
If you want to curtail crime in the society, first thing, curtail drug. So once we can curtail the amount of drug coming into the society, you see, the boys will go sober. And there are a lot of ways to rehabilitate these youths. It's a very simple way. You can rehabilitate them. Take them, I told you can rehabilitate these children. Take them, give them vocational training, mentoring, training, craft, so many things, and at the end of the day, they can come out becoming good people.
Addressing youth crime means more than just an arrest. It requires mentorship, job creation, and a society that gives its youth a reason to believe. In Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, reporting for Global TV.
Now 11 people have been confirmed dead, with several others missing following a late-night attack in Otobiakpa, a community in Otopo local government area of Benue State. The government reportedly opened fire on residents and set homes ablaze. Governor Alia discloses to newsmen at the government house in Maikode while expressing grief over the incident. Felicity Ndara has the report.
The prolonged insecurity in Benue State continues to plague local communities. Otobi Ankpa in Otukpo local government is the latest to come under attack, largely by suspected herdsmen. Governor Hyacint earlier confirmed the death of 11 persons, with others still unaccounted for, describing the situation as devastating.
Can we say that this correlates what is happening in Plateau? We've had a number of attacks, but I can say for certain that what we see in the front lines now, Nate, these horrible, terrible fighters are in the front lines. They come and they kill any person, irrespective of ethnicity, on their way. So they kill them, all the residents run away, they go back a few weeks, and then they come in full-fledged for occupation. This is land grabbing.
The governor, in his lamenting state, described the incident as horrific and heartbreaking, saying many parts of the community have been deserted after the attackers overwhelmed residents.
It's reported by the very victims that it is the armed herders who came to attack them. What I know for the record is we're now realizing that there was some bit of a threat that came out. Someone sent a message, one of the claimed herders who had lived down there with the people for a very long time, for some reason sent out some message to one of his friends, an indigenous friend, that they were going to attack, and yesterday it happened. We've been having challenges with this axis. If you hear of any kidnapping by Otukpo local government, this is the axis. We are experiencing the new face of these attacks.
Governor earlier assured the public that search and rescue efforts are ongoing. He therefore called on residents to remain vigilant and to report any suspicious activities to the police, military and local vigilante groups. In Makurdi, Felicity Ndere, Global TV News.
The factional chairman of the New Nigeria People's Party, NNPP, El Jibril Odagwa, has defended the recent visit to the APC National Chairman Abdullahi Ganduje by some members of the party as deliberate attempts in the best interest of the party. Addressing a news conference, Odagwa says party leadership in Kano is fully aware of the visit to Ganduje by Senator Sumela-led group. Our correspondent Idris Jibril has the report. Over that at the shortest moment, the Nigeria Labour Congress says the militancy, kidnapping and other social vices in the country will drastically reduce if the federal and the sub-national government create jobs for the citizenry. It also advised that the government creates sustainable and not casual jobs which pay would not sustain a worker for a month. Speaking at the official launch of the Labour Employment and Empowerment Program, Live in Abuja, the NLC President George says employment remains the best way to cope with social crisis in the country. The Minister of Marine and Blue Economy, Adebayo Yetola, directed the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency to commence a process that will lead to the long-awaited disbursement of the Carbotage Vessels Financing Fund. The fund has suffered over 2 decades of administrative stagnations, and the directive ushers in a new era of strategic reposition of Nigeria's indigenous shipping. The disbursement will represent not just the release of funds, but a commitment to empowering Nigerian maritime operators and bolstering national competitiveness and to fostering sustainable economic development. The People's Democratic Party Governors Forum has expressed solidarity with the suspended Rivers State Governor Sibilai Fubara amid his ongoing ordeal, including his suspension and the declaration of a state of emergency. The governors who met in Ibadan, Oyo State, urged the federal government to address the alarming insecurity across the country. Ramsey Anobo has the details.
It is a convergence of state executives under the platform of the People's Democratic Party, and they have converged on Nigeria's southwest political capital, Ibadan. to deliberate on how best to reposition the nation's major opposition party ahead of future elections. The governors went into a closed-door meeting, after which they briefed the e-news men on the outcome of the resolutions reached during their meetings.
Speculation about the possible merger of political parties, groups, and/or associations, the forum resolved that the PDP will not join any coalition or merger. However, the PDP, as a major opposition party, welcomes any party, persons, or groups that are willing to join it with a view to wresting power and enthroning good leadership in 2027.
In addition, the People's Democratic Party (PDP) governors addressed issues relating to the smooth running of its party, while it also lamented what it termed the worsening security situation in parts of the country, calling on the federal government to look into the matter and check the needless loss of innocent lives.
The forum finds alarming the worsening security situation in the country, as evidenced in parts of the country, especially Borno, Plateau, Katsina, and Edo states. The forum calls for the review and reordering of priorities and strategies, including adopting a bottom-up template that guarantees the subnationals to constitute an effective line of defense against security breaches.
Present at the meeting were host Governor Sheyi Makinde, Governor of Bauchi State Bala Mohammed, Peter Mba of Enugu State, Agbu Kefat of Taraba State, Dauda Lawal of Zamfara State, amongst others, while governors of Delta and Akwa Ibom states were represented by their deputies. Ramsey Enoch Agbo reporting for Global TV News.
Now to Imo State, as government says it's strengthening its healthcare sector by prioritizing the training and attitudinal reorientation of the frontline health workers. In this special report, our correspondent Machibe speaks with the Commissioner for Health, Dr. Success Prosper, on the state's ongoing reforms to improve the primary healthcare delivery.
Out of renewed efforts to revamp healthcare services across Imo State, the Imo State government has launched a robust capacity building program for frontline health workers in primary healthcare centers. The head commissioner, Dr. Prosper Onyara, says the initiative is not only improving technical competence but also instilling professionalism and service discipline. According to him, the program adopts a train-the-trainers model, allowing selected health workers to receive intensive training and return to their various centers to replicate the knowledge, ensuring statewide impact, especially at the grassroots.
We have also embarked, because capacity building is one of the things that we really need to understand that will help the health sector. So we embarked on capacity building of frontline health workers. This capacity building is not just for those who will be there, there will also be cascade capacity building. Those who have attended capacity building will go back to their health centers and do that.
Beyond technical skills, the initiative also targets behavioral issues. Dr. Onyara revealed that in the past, some health workers were seen engaging in inappropriate conduct, such as selling groundnuts during official hours. He emphasized that the government is addressing these challenges through continuous training, effective monitoring, and a renewed sense of accountability within the sector.
Changed the attitudinal behavior towards health care. In the past, when you go to some primary health centers, you see health workers selling granules and everything. But today, health workers are health workers for what they are in Imo State.
Dr. Onyara reaffirms the government's commitment to building a responsive and disciplined health system capable of delivering accessible, efficient, and people-centered services across Imo communities. From Owerri, Amarachi Ibe, Global TV News.
You're watching the live broadcast of AM News, and when AM News returns, the French with how Algeria escalates with the faithful tactics portions. We have visitors coming shortly, plus business and sports stories on the other side of this break. Please stay with us. And now to business news. Director General of the World Trade Organization, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, says global goods trade is expected to fall by anywhere between 0.2 and 1.5% this year, depending how United States President Donald Trump's tariff play out. Uyab Movegbe has the rest of this report.
The World Trade Organization DG noted that if Trump's higher reciprocal tariffs were introduced in July, following a 90-day pause, global trade in goods could drop 0.8% this year.
Based on the trade policies currently in effect, we project, and that includes the pause, we project that global merchandise trade volumes will decline by 0.2% in 2025, nearly 3 percentage points below the level we would have expected without recent trade policy shifts. This downward revision reflects the combined impact of newly introduced tariffs and heightened uncertainty affecting trade relations with the United States.
Dr. Okonjo-Iweala, however, noted that if other countries retaliated, uncertainty is likely to shave off another 0.7 percentage points, fueled by factors of reciprocal tariffs and uncertainty.
Now, a broader spread of policy uncertainty beyond U.S. trading relationships would reduce growth by another 0.7 percentage points, implying a total decline in global merchandise trade of 1.5 percentage points in 2025 if both downside risks materialize, i.e. the risk of reinstating reciprocal tariffs and also growing uncertainty spreading beyond the U.S.
The WTO DG had previously said U.S. President Donald Trump's tariffs and China's retaliatory levies risk splitting the world into two trading blocs as countries are forced, quote, to choose to be with one side or the other, unquote. Uyi Agbmofrebe, reporting for Global TV News.
morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
dispersing upkeep of 20,000 naira.
Know that you cannot talk about a healthy nation if you don't have means to produce your own in addition to importing.
The CG is the principal actor of this because it's within her jurisdiction. Minister is a supervisor.
We must run in accordance with the Constitution of CAN, where you have just a single time.
The human factor, you have the infrastructural factor, then you have the mechanical factors.
The Senate, with all due respect, they were so hasty in passing that judgment.
The statement I'm about to make is we're not even aware.
That is the future.
You have to be aware before you can begin to be prepared.
is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
A Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues.
And at the same time, keeping you well informed about important events, both national and international.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
It is the Global Morning live on your screen, and of course it's been a very wonderful time since 7 a.m. and this is the time a lot of people have been waiting for. Someone will be wondering, River State, every day you see River State in the news and you keep wondering, what is it all about? We're thinking state of emergency was going to be declared in Plateau State, in Benue State. A lot of people saying so many things. Nigerians are asking these questions, but then the state of emergency declared in River State have drawn a lot of attention, and of course the installation of the sole administrator has in fact brought up more questions. Protests on the street every day, then you begin to ask questions. What is really happening in River State? Sometimes you think the problem has subsided, then overnight you hear another fire again. Oh, he's appointing administrators, he's taking instruction from the FCT minister, you know, but we felt this person is coming as a neutral, a lot of things.
Maybe he came on a peace-keeping mission, you know, that was a projection many persons said, and even the president that, look, for the 6 months, you try to put things in place, you know, put the House of Assembly in place, all the democratic institutions in place so as to resolve the crisis, and then maybe governance will be reinstated after the 6 months. But appointing local government administrator, I mean, you've now appointed persons to take charge of the local government. Whereas in our constitution of the recent Supreme Court judgment that, look, appointment of a local government, I mean, has been banished. It's either you have an elected representative or probably a civil service who is temporarily taking charge of it. So we have, you know, head of service at the respective local government. Some person have questioned, why didn't you allow the senior officials, you know, at the respective local government to take charge of the local government? Why go ahead to appoint administrator? What's the essence of appointing administrator? When the Supreme Court have said, look, we may not do an appointment on the issues of local government again. So is the local government now, another tier of government now affected for what has happened at the state? So these are some questions that have been asked. And the sole administrator is suspending some persons. You know, we saw how the secretary to the state government was also removed. We saw how the head of service resigned. We've seen a lot of changes in the governing, the administrative processes of River State. A lot of persons are now questioning, where is this coming from? And these persons that are now appointed, who are they loyal to? Because, like it or not, everybody has where their places their loyalty at. So
that's
so the pro for Barakam and the women who protested yesterday are saying that, look, we do not probably, yes, we agree with the president, not fully, that you've given us an administrator, but the administrator looks to be taking instruction from some quarters. But I'm glad that the House of Representatives are making moves to invite him. Of course, I've invited the sole administrator for some question. We do hope that that can also put things to check, because this is democracy. You know, we may not have dictatorships, you know, running the affairs of the state.
Yes, as it is, I think one of the things that's very important now is the fact that the House of Rep is stepping in, because the way it's going now,
actually, the sole administrator came in because there were speculations that there were going to be fights, quarrels in River State, you know, people plotting to bomb pipelines and all of that. And this, the president, in his wisdom, said, well, let's have a sole administrator, even though he's not from River State, and going as far as appointing local government administrator. Now, I think the last time we had local government administrator was during military regime, you know. So having this thing now, contrary to what the law have said, there are so many things to it. And for the women coming out, you know, women, when women comes out, you know what it means. And what they are protesting is that the sole administrator is taking instruction, all right, from the former governor of River State, who is in a fight with the governor Fubara himself. And it is because of this, you know, when two elephants fight, the ground suffers. Because of the suffering of the River State people, the sole administrator came in. I think the most interesting thing right now is the fact that the House of Representatives have set up a committee to look into this issue. But then, let's just be sincere with ourselves. Let's be frank. Let's call spade a spade. The things going on, all right, is it how it's supposed to be? Why are the authorities quiet over it? The women are protesting, meaning at this point we are helpless. We don't have anything to do anymore but to embark on a peaceful protest, and they hit the street. Well, I don't know. In a bid to control danger, let's not have more danger in River State, because as it is right now, whether you like it or not, Fubara still have his loyalists. Wike on his own part still have his own loyalists, whether people in governance or people outside governance, whether the youth or the women, everyone have people they are loyal to. But the bottom line is this: let the right thing be done. First of all, you know, Nigerians were angry that it is not constitutional, according to what Nigerians said, and according to what some persons who are custodians of the law have said. They said it is not constitutional to remove an elected, democratically elected governor from the office, except through the normal process. And some persons are saying there are some insecurity situations in the country that may have warranted what we call state of emergency, but we never had it. What is so special about River State? Some persons are questioning the fact that the president, according to what some Nigerians are saying, not us, we are not the ones saying it. What Nigerians are saying, some Nigerians are saying, it's as if Wike is having an upper hand because he is in the government of the All Progressive Congress, that is APC. But then all of this put together, what do you think about what is happening in River State right now? Because we don't pray. No one ever pray for danger. No one ever pray for crisis. Because the insecurity situation that we are having in this country is even more than enough. We can't afford to have more. And that's the reason we are categorically saying this morning that whatever we do, however we do it, we should know that the people of River State are entitled to their democratic rights. You know, the dividends of democracy. A lot of people were clamoring for democracy because of the dividends of democracy. You know, at a point, some persons were saying, well, what is happening in other states should also happen in River State. So now we are waiting, and people, Nigerians, see, this is one thing about Nigerians. Nigerians are very intelligent people. Sometimes you will be tempted to say, Nigerians said they are being tempted to feel as if some persons are more Nigerian than the others. You know, because some persons are enjoying the dividends of democracy, while some other persons are not enjoying the dividends of democracy at all. But now, as a sole administrator,
what are the things that he is supposed to do? These are things that are supposed to be spelled out. But I think it's so good right now that the committee has been set up by the House of Representatives, because sometimes if we fold our hands, things may go wrong. Some persons are even thinking that the sole administrator in the person of Ibas is taking laws into his hands right now by going to appoint local government administrators. But if you look at it from the other side, the local government council needs to be administered. Somebody needs to be in charge, all right? Because if the chairmen are not there anymore because the governor has been removed, suspended, it is supposed to be for 6 months. Some persons were saying, well, 6 months is too much. Some other person said, the suspension in itself is totally wrong. But then, putting one or two together, now that the suspension has come, and now that someone has been installed there, how are the people feeling? It is one thing for you to be in office, and it is another thing for you to have the cooperation of the people. It's another, see, one person cannot rule Rivers State. And that's why we have the governor. Then we also have the state assembly members. Then we have the local government councils. Like Michael was saying some minutes ago, if anything happened at the local government council and we don't have elected, democratically elected chairman, what we should have is the head of service, all right, should be the one to man the office until election is being done. Because what we heard is that there is no room for caretaker chairman anymore. There is no room for caretaker chairman. Then some persons were very, very, very confused for the fact that funding for the state was suspended because of the crisis, because of the problem. This is not a small problem. What happened in Rivers State is not a small problem at all. But then, if that same fund that was withheld when Fubara was there before his suspension is being released to the administrator, because of course he needs to run the affairs of Rivers State, good and fine, because peace in a way has been restored. But seeing women hit the street again, something is going. The people that have been appointed, the sole administrators, the local government administrator, people that have been appointed to administer and to manage the affairs of the local government, where are they coming from? I think it was after this appointment that the women hit the street to say, well, we are not comfortable with what is happening, and we can't fold our arms like this. What else do we need to do? We don't need to take laws into our hands, but let's hit the street for a peaceful protest. And if you look at the placards that they were carrying, it is being written that the sole administrator is taking instruction from the former governor of Rivers State, meaning the problem still continues. All right. But the question a lot of Nigerians keep asking every day is, can Wike be in Abuja and be given instruction in Rivers State? That's the question a lot of Nigerians are asking. And you can't get it very clear whether or not it is true that the instructions or the things being done by the sole administrator appointed by the presidency is actually instructions from the FCT minister, because all of these are allegations until otherwise proven. But the people of Rivers State may have their reasons why they have actually come out to say, well, this thing's happening. It's not just happening, but then there is an undertone to all of these things happening. But let's call spade a spade. I'll keep saying that. There are limits to which the operations of the sole administrator can get to. There's a limit to which it can get to. But then, who is monitoring? Who is he accountable to? Is it the presidency directly, or is answerable to the House of Representatives, or answerable to the alleged FCT, or he is accountable to the FCT minister, as it is being alleged by the women. You know, sometimes the people are not even asking for too much. We are not even concerned about the big guns. We are not even concerned about the fight between the governor and, of course, the former governor. This is a predecessor and a successor in a fight. What about the people of Rivers State that need to enjoy the dividends of democracy? Remember, there are havocs that has been caused in time past when this fight was going on, and that's the reason I earlier said, if there is a fight like this, the ground suffers. The people are the ones who face the heat of this fight. Are they really enjoying the dividends of democracy? Nigerians actually cried for democracy because of what was happening during the military regime, when it was all about autocracy. But now that we have democracy, is this the real democracy that Nigerians actually cried for? Are the people enjoying the dividends of democracy? These are the kind of questions we should be asking. So I'm putting 1, 2, 3 together. I think it is high time we wait for what will come out of the committee being set up by the House of Representatives. We just pray and wish that nothing happens. There is no compromise. All right, there is no court being put across to the committee members to do things that is not in accordance with what they are supposed to do, because the people are waiting. They need to enjoy the dividends of democracy, but right now we don't have all of that, and this is worrisome. This is a problem. But whether or not the administrator is taking instruction from anyone, as it is being alleged by the women during the protest, as it's even been written on the placard, bold, very clear. If it is going to be true, well, I don't think it's a good one for the people of Rivers State. We're still looking at the situation in Rivers State. We'll go on a quick break. After this break, we will just lay some very basic points. Then we'll bring the first discussion to a close, and we will have our guests join us, because I can't just finish talking about this. If I want to talk about this, I will talk about it until tomorrow. But then we need expert opinions, not just my opinions, not just what Nigerians are saying, but the perspective of the experts is very, very important. So after this break, we'll have an expert join us as we talk briefly about that before we bring the first discussion to a close and make way for the second discussion. Stay with us on Global Morning. We will be back after this break.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews and latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Morning.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Rivers State. It is still Global Morning, and of course, I told you my guest will be joining me as we look at the situation in Rivers State. I have a legal practitioner, we've been speaking from the broadcaster's perspective and what Nigerians are saying. Let's get the perspective of legal practitioners as regards what's happening in Rivers State. Joining me on the conversation this morning is Barrister Joseph Agbo. It's good to have you join us on the program this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
Well, let's go straight to Rivers State right now, beginning from the appointment of local government administrators. I remember what it is. This appointment is supposed to be done democratically, okay, by the people, because this is democracy, government of the people, for the people, and by the people, even though a lot of people are against the installation of the sole administrator. Then going as far as appointing local government administrators is something that Nigerians have not really come to terms with constitutionally and legally. What do you think about that situation, Barrister?
There's a popular saying in legal magazine that nothing stands on nothing. The law, the constitution is the foundation of our corporate existence as a country, as a system. Now, in other words, and of course the democracy that we claim to practice, everything ought to be done in accordance with the stipulation of the law. Everything ought to be done in accordance with what the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria has prescribed. Now, bringing it down, narrowing it to Rivers State, in the first place, this is an imposition. Certainly, the state of emergency, the declaration of the state of emergency, yes, the law, the Constitution permits the president in certain scenarios to declare state of emergency, but I would not agree, legally speaking, that this is what the law envisages when it talks about declaration of state of emergency. But what has happened now is the total taking over of the democratic structure. Certain basic ethical questions have been asked. If you have declared, you've imposed a sole administrator, so to say, and even sworn in, by what oath? The oath that you took, was it under the law? Is it prescribed by law? So definitely what is happening is alien. It's something that is novel. It's something that, sincerely speaking, is not in tandem with what the law has prescribed. And I think it's an affront to democracy. The only thing we will say is that we do hope that the key players in this game, they are able to discover that they are doing injury to the system. The fabrics of democracy and the whole essence of the corporate existence of the country is being eroded gradually, and that they will retrace their steps before these things snowball into introduce other crises that will be very difficult to manage, sincerely speaking. Now, talking about imposition, I imagine how a sole administrator whose own appointment now is being debated as something that is not legal. That is why I imagine them going to the extent of appointing local government administrators, because the law is so clear. We have the federal government, we have the state government, and we have the local government, and the law has prescribed means by which people that must officiate over these structures of government, this structure of government, how they come into the offices they occupy. So it should be done strictly in accordance with the law. So I would say what is happening, any act, much of the acts that there is no law that back much of what the sole administrator in Rivers State is doing. So the acts, they definitely will amount to, they are illegalities. Just to put it in a very simple, they are illegalities.
Oh, all right, there are illegalities. You can now hear from a legal practitioner himself. And now, in the first instance, you have already condemned the suspension of the democratically elected governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara. Now, let's come back to the issue of interference in the administration of Rivers State. Because as it is right now, before you can be a good administrator, you need the support of the people. But that support we are not having right now. And a protest came up by women. The women hit the street, and women most times, they see things and they speak faster than the men. So anytime you see the women hit the street, know that yes, they have something to say. And one of the things they are saying is that the administrator is taking instructions, all right, from the former governor of Rivers State, Nyesom Wike. Is it possible to actually allege a thing like that, looking at the whole scenario?
It is possible. It is possible because look at the history of this crisis. It's clear that I think Nyesom Wike facilitated the election of the governor, the elected governor of Rivers State, Siminalayi Fubara. And from what they have been saying, we are not part of that maybe they had the pact that was not being followed. And of course, that resulted into the crisis, the attempts to fix all those things, and then they didn't work at the end of the day. So definitely, it's a political class. It's a battle between, unfortunately, I don't think the governor, let me just be very blunt, I don't think he's a strong weight, He's a featherweight, maybe fighting other powers. Definitely, he who plays the tune dictates to the who plays the piper dictates the tune. Whoever has facilitated the appointment of the sole administrator definitely would dictate to the sole administrator. So if the women of Rivers State have come out in all good conscience to say, look, you are taking instruction, they are there in Rivers State, they know what the experiences they are having, they see what is happening, they can best interpret the actions. And if they've come out to say that it is patently clear that you are taking instruction from the former governor of Rivers State, there is interference. No, globally it's known that there have been interference. I'm not here to justify whether those interferences or the crisis between Fubara and his political godfather or master. I'm not here to talk about the ethical quality of those, because I don't know what happened between them that led them to this point. I don't want to go into that area, but to say that the people are saying there are interferences, definitely there have been interferences, and unfortunately, unfortunately so. And my advice would be that they should not take the people of Rivers State for granted. We all remember the women, about women riot of 1929. Women have always done this right from time. So anytime it's a signal something that, it's just like you have your body. There are times you feel, there are certain things you feel like, that something is wrong with your chemistry, and that maybe you should seek medical attention. So this is a clear sign that things are no longer well, and that there is a need for fixing in Rivers State.
All right, in other words, are you trying to say, well, with this protest and the fact that people are not in tune with the appointment, of course, it was the federal government that appointed the sole administrator, and he was being sworn in and all of that. Now the people are not satisfied. What do you think? Is there any process? Is there anything that can be done?
The law courts, the court is the final place where everybody should run to and get justice. And even where there's a need for proper interpretation of the law. And I want to believe that the parties, Fubara and the rest, the people of Rivers State, let them go to court. But again, I've always said something. The law, section 14 of our constitution, subsection 2 says, sovereignty belongs to the people of Nigeria, from whom government, through the constitution, derives its powers and authority. Political sovereignty resides with the people. We have seen it happen in countries. There was a time in Argentina, within a very short space of time, 5 presidents in quick successions were ousted by the people. Well, once they say they are the electorate, there can be no constitution without the people. There can be no government without the people. So if the people say, come ultimately as a look, we are no longer comfortable with our things. The democracy and governance generally is like a contract between the people and those that are leading them. And the law is the constitution is the document of that stipulates the terms of that contract. So it should be followed. Where you go outside of the constitution, like it is being done now, under guise that there were insecurities. I don't think personally, if you ask me, that the insecurity have gotten to the extent to which you can declare emergency and then take up the security architecture of the state and ensure that there's security. Moreover, the governor of the state is not the one in charge of. The IG doesn't take directives from him. You can instruct the IG, instruct the army chief, the service chiefs, and ensure that the pipelines and ensure that the security. Whereas the governor is still the governor of the state. Okay, so I feel that it is appropriate and it's pertinent and it is salient and urgent to to make it clear to those in power to say that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. They should not allow themselves to bask in the euphoria of being in power and then go to the extremes and put the disgrace to the extremes. I think that there should be some level of caution. You have to take feelers from the people. If women people are coming out to say no, we are not comfortable from the chemistry of the state, you see that the vast majority of people of Rivers State, they want the governor to be in place. They want the structure to run. Okay, so I think that it should be allowed.
All right, it should be allowed because it's all over. The handwriting is bold on the wall that the people are not so comfortable with what's going on, especially the state of emergency. Now, you talked about the fact that the people can go to court to seek redress if they are not satisfied with whatever it is that's going on in Rivers State. Now, that takes also the fact that some Nigerians don't believe in the judiciary anymore. More so that most of the things happening, there is this scenario and there is this belief that the judiciary has been compromised. And that's by the way, that's one of the questions. How can the people go about it? Because it's a long process. Remember what happened in Kogi Central, the recalling of Senator Natasha. That's by the way. Now, let's get to the House of Representatives now, where a committee has been set up to look into what is happening in Rivers State as it regards the affairs of the sole administrator. Do you think, because number one, I first established the fact that some persons don't believe in the system anymore, especially when the big guns are involved, when instruction is coming from up. Whatever you do at the base, they feel that of the top supersede what happened at the base. The Constitution constituting a committee now to look into what's happening in Rivers State that is had to do with what the administrator is doing by the House of Representatives. How much trust do you have in it as a person, and do you think whatever comes from that place is really going to be appealing to the people more so than the women are on street right now? We don't know if the youths are going to hit the street anytime soon.
You see, thus far does good. From what has happened, the role the National Assembly has played, thus far does good. I personally have some measure of reservation, sincerely speaking, because the bulk majority of people that are in those places are poor. I don't want to use words that are very harsh.
I believe you don't want to use a revised word.
There are people that pay, so a lot of times people can be paid at that level to do the biddings of those who pay. Because it's so clear. There should have been vote to ratify whatever decision the President Tinubu made concerning the emergency. But you saw the way the procedure that was adopted. It should have been a proper counting and people making their decisions known. But the voice, which is not clearly not what the law prescribes. So that in that case, you look at it, and the House of Representatives, how they. So now going back now, them coming setting up a committee now when they had the opportunity to have censored what was happening. It will just appear as though they just want to, so that the Nigerian people will not think that you are there, you are not doing anything. Sincerely, except unless and until the contrary is proven by them, I personally don't believe that they will do what is appropriate. I don't think so. I doubt them.
All right, well, that's you doubting them. A legal practitioner is in doubt. I wonder what Nigerians will be thinking. Maybe when some person said that a committee was set up, like you said, these are people who actually had the opportunity from onset to censor the process. But then it was, I don't know, like Erufai will always say, I was in a conference, in a press conference, and he said, well, this is time for the National Assembly to prove that they are not rubber stamped. But then you coming up now to also say, well, the trust and the belief of the people in this committee that is being set up is not so strong. And of course, looking at what is happening in Rivers State, we are waiting and looking forward to what will come from the committee that has been set up whether it is going to be positive or it is going to be contrary, or it will be what Nigerians are thinking. But finally, before I will bring this to a close because of our time, what's your advice for the people of Rivers State? Because Fubara, on his own part, he has always been saying, stay calm, just be calm, he's a man of peace. Remember, he went to the state assembly a couple of times after the court judgment. He wanted to make peace until the emergency was actually declared. So on your own part as a legal practitioner, what would you say to the people of Rivers State?
As a lawyer, I would say it clearly that the mandate belongs to the people of Nigeria. It's their mandate. It's their mandate. So, and you have to not just, it's not enough for you to go to the polling units, the polling votes and cast your vote and go back. And then whatever happened, you maintain the state of apartheid. No, that is wrong. It's time for Nigerian people to come up, usually to defend the system. The problem is, like you were saying, at the point, the problem is not just the court. It is time for the Nigerian people, the people of Rivers State, to make to defend what the mandate they have committed to Fubara. I'm not advocating violence, but I'm saying that the people should not just sit back and watch anything happen, because at the end of the day, they say when elephants fight, it's the grass that suffer. They will be at the receiving end at the end of the day. And our problem in Nigeria basically is a system problem. It is time for Nigerian people to make up their mind to ensure that a proper system is entrenched. There's nowhere where some ruling people of the ruling class have made things to work. The system, no system that is working and that's built by the ruling class. The people. That's why democracy, they say, is the government of the people, for the people and by the people. So by the people. So what is the role that the people should play? The people should be the first vanguard of democracy. And that means that they should not go back and rest on their oars. It means that they have to be there. There have to be civil ways through which they can come, like going out, sit, in, making demands through your institutions, churches, mosques, making appropriate demand, putting the proper, the civil society organizations, taking the proper appropriate steps within the range of the law to ensure that no brigand is allowed to cruise on the system and run everybody into some situation of razzmatazz.
All right. I think I'll say this again before. Don't worry. We are trying to keep it within the space of time. Now, I still have a few more questions in my mind. I think we should go on. Let me ask this question. Some persons, I will always use the word allege. There are a lot of allegations with what is happening in Rivers State. Some persons are saying this is an attempt to hijack Rivers State. Okay, meaning the ruling party want to hijack. Rivers State has been a PDP state. Okay, stronghold PDP. Despite what happened in the 2023 election, some persons still believe strongly, even though there were a lot of allegations that the then governor worked for the people's, not really for the People's Democratic Party, in the real essence of it, because of the faction, worked for APC, and he got a role in the administration. And so persons are now alleging that everything happening in Rivers State somehow is an attempt to capture the state for APC. I don't know, but now with this trouble and everything, what do you think? What's your perspective of what people are saying?
Yeah, if you have looked at the style of democracy and how things have been done over time, the moment people come into power, they don't do much, they have not delivered much before they start scheming for how to come back to power, okay, or how to maintain the power. So everybody knows that those in power are now already working and putting structures. Now, in Rivers State, Wike has been talking about structure. His political structure, he cannot bequeath it, he cannot let it go, he cannot lose his political structure. What is political structures for? It's for purposes of winning elections. The way there are ways without the structures you cannot. You remember Labour Party was told that you don't have structures, so you cannot win elections in Nigeria. Even if all Nigerians go after you, you don't have the structures. It was clearly told that. So you see, if you ask me, it will only be reasonable to conclude that the whole of this thing, I will not blame anybody who thinks that is an attempt to hijack power preparatory to 2027. As a matter of fact, it's a battle towards 2027 until the contrary is proven. Because there are ways we have gone about this. There are ways, obviously clear ways that would have gone about this. Listen, now let me be very blunt. Nelson Wike, my learned senior friend, is a lawyer. Now, he's a minister under this government. Listen, there are ways the president could have called and call everybody to order as far as this thing is concerned, sincerely, without going to the extent of imposing the state of emergency as it is. You know, but that having not been done, this is my opinion now, and it's with utmost good faith, without any prejudice or bias, without anything. I have nothing against any one of them. I'm just being sincere. The only reasonable conclusion anybody can make, and a fair-minded person can make now, is that it's all game. You know, they are just gaming towards 2027.
It's all a game towards 2027.
It's all a game towards 2027.
It's all a game towards 2027, even though the presidency. It will even amaze you that there is a campaign going on towards 2027 instead of governance, concentrating on governance. Some persons are saying attention has been diverted to politicking. Now, still in Rivers State, we're talking about Rivers State right now. Like you made mention of the president, that in a place where things should be done orderly, the president has the right to call the now minister of FCT to say, well, let this thing just slide. But the interest, because someone says something, that the first day a politician gets into office, that same day they start preparing for the next election on how they can remain in office, and the same thing you just confirmed now. Now let's look at 2027 right now. The way it is, 2027 is, I think that election should be a year plus right now, as a matter of fact. But looking at 2027, capturing, and don't forget what happened in the last election, because now we have Wike in one PDP, and we also have an Atiku in the other faction of PDP. There is one faction of PDP now that is thinking of coalition, okay, so that they can fight APC just the way APC fought PDP out of office. Now, looking at all this scenario, do you think if there is a coalition, whether or not Rivers State is being taken over by the APC, do you think they will be able to fight any coalition? Because it was the same thing they used to push the People's Democratic Party out of office, even though there was so many things that played out in the process.
You know, you look going back, thank God for history. The coalition between CPC, AC, and all that brought about APC, and that brought this particular party to power in 2015, was because at that point in time they had a personality people thought they could trust, who happened to President Buhari, okay? And they sold a mantra, they sold out an idea to the people. They thought, oh, this is a man of integrity, and that was how, you know, at least they had Nigerians, a good number of Nigerians on that side supporting that coalition. But I don't think that this particular it's a marriage, this PDP and all this coalition, they are just a marriage. This coalition is a marriage of strange bedfellows that cannot work, that cannot produce any fruit. That's my sincere opinion.
we have very big names here. We have Atiku, all right. We have El-Rufai.
You see, there are some of those characters that cannot be trusted. Who do you trust now? Is it an El-Rufai? With the Nigerian people, you know, maybe, you know, the problem with Nigerian politicians is that they don't introspect. And sometimes after you have done your term in office and come out, maybe look at this, and then if they do that, they will often realize that maybe there's always a need for, there will definitely be need for them to come back and even to seek forgiveness and apologize to Nigerian people.
But they always feel they are correct.
They always feel they are correct. I tell you that I don't want to say some things because I don't want to sound partisan again. On this platform, we are not for PDP, we are not against anybody, okay? I strictly believe that. But I have a very, very strong, it's so clear that this coalition will not will not win even if it is an election for the national president of Nigeria Union of Road Transport Workers.
Is that, come on, is that how I don't honestly look down on this coalition?
I'm not looking down. I'm just saying the
barrister. We have I don't know if Peter Obi is going to be part of it, but then there is a drag. Then we have Atiku right there, who is a game master in politics. We also have El-Rufai, who have done so much, you know, as far as politics is concerned. He's known. He's well known. Then, you know, the Kwankwasias, the Kwankwaso, the NNPP may also be forming coalition. You talked about the fact that the success APC got in 2015 was because they fronted the person of Muhammadu Buhari.
Exactly.
Looking at previous antecedents,
it was a dummy that was sold that in
but then what if remember what
the mantra of change, which eventually became like change, as some people will say.
The change actually came, even though it was in disguise. It wasn't what Nigerians were actually praying for. But now, what if remember what happened to Labour Party when Peter Obi came? Even though some persons were saying they never had structure, you see, they actually gave the other parties a run for their money, because a lot of the people that contested were scared. It was a narrow escape for a lot of them because Obi was in that party, and it was even Obi's presence, an individual, just like you talked about Buhari just now, our former president, that brought the limelight to APC. Peter Obi also brought that light to Labour Party. What if these people pick somebody different? Okay, not those fronting the coalition now, maybe not Atiku, not Kwankwaso, not El-Rufai, and they just come up with somebody that is trusted, like Buhari. Do you think Nigerians have learned lesson and not believing in persons anymore?
You know, Nigerians have learned bitter lessons, you know, over time. Well, you see, these people that are fronting this idea of trying to nurture this idea of coalition. Personally, I don't see them as people that will be willing to relinquish power. This whole coalition is because they also want control of power. But if it so happens that they decide to be sacrificial, then it may, you can say now it's a 50-50 chance, because if you bring a combination of people like Peter Obi, I get some very reputable, there are many reputable people in this country that people trust. You can go to some extent. You can actually pull some effect. However, you must also bear in mind that the president, the person they will be running against, appears to be one step always ahead of everybody, and that's my own worry. They were one step, you see, when everybody was talking about Beavers celebrating, saying that eventually we've gotten it right in Nigeria, election votes will count and all that. We even lawyers, it was Olisa Bakuba, the SAN, that first drew our attention to the fact that look at the law backing this thing. Is it an enforceable law? That these things can, they don't even look like they are enforceable. Before, few people began to look at the Electoral Act. At the end of the day, we discovered that really we have not even gotten to the point we are saying. So, but these people knew that there was a lacuna there. And they didn't bother all the noise people were making. They said, you look, you don't have structure. And we told them that, the people told them that we are the structure. They said, okay, let's go on and see at the end of the day who has the structure. And eventually it was proven that they have the structure. So, well, the coalition makes it very interesting, because you see, again, in this country, you need certain things that will play out like comic relief. You know, so that when you sit after a hard day work, you sit down, you watch, listen the news, and then it gives you some reasons to laugh. Sincerely, I don't think that this coalition can get to the point with Nigerians, even in an average northerner, trust. I don't have anything against Mala El-Rufai, Nasir El-Rufai, but would the Kaduna people trust him? Would they trust him? Would they trust him too? Would they trust the other people that this thing, they will not.
Some people are of the opinion that he's leaving APC because he wasn't given a ministerial
position. Whether he leaves APC or not, it doesn't make any difference.
So he would have been,
even just like maybe you, for me, if you ask for advice, I would say be quiet.
He should just be quiet.
Yes, just go somewhere.
After not being given a minister in APC, after the screening, it's embarrassing. You were appointed and you were screened out.
And you were screened out.
But he feels so embarrassing and humiliating.
In National Assembly that the vast majority are from your geopolitical, do you understand? We were screened out without any apologies.
So you're saying he doesn't have a pedigree to be...
I don't think that he has command any influence as it is right now. I don't think we'll ever be able to do so anymore.
But then, let's go back a little bit. Let me take you back memory lane a little bit. I said we're rounding up, but then this conversation is getting very intense right now, and there are some facts that we need to put straight. Let's talk about Peter Obi a little bit. He had a lot of crowd, a lot of followership during the election, 2023 election. He had a lot of, in fact, people already declared him a winner even before the election started. You see how loyal Nigerians are. You see how very hungry Nigerians are for democracy that they really wanted. They wanted to prove that it's government of the people, for the people, and by the people. And you see people bringing out their generating plant, people bringing out their umbrella to stop the rain, doing so much, all because of Peter Obi. But now, if Peter Obi joins the coalition, do you think he's going to make a difference if he's been fielded? Now, secondly, do you think the people will still trust the person of Peter Obi like they did in the 2023 election, up to the extent that some persons from the diaspora even traveled all the way to Nigeria to cast their vote? What do you think about the person of Peter Obi? And don't forget that there is a faction in Labour Party right now.
Peter Obi emerged as the spokesman, the spokesperson, and the personification of a movement. There are certain Nigerian caliber of the Nigerian people, the younger Nigerian people who have all from their birth up to where they are right now have suffered a whole lot of things. They never really have enjoyed Nigeria. They've never seen good governance in Nigeria. They are clamoring for change. And they found in Peter Obi a man who has the evidence of good leadership. And he, just like Martin Luther King, became the spokesperson of that movement in the United States after Rosa Parks happened in 1955. Okay, so Peter Obi is now like the personification of that movement, and I want to advise, if this will get to him, that he should not make the mistake of joining, because that will plunge him into a gap that he may not be able to recover, because he must go along with his crowd. The crowd that behind him are a crowd of people wanting sincerely that Nigeria should change. People that believe in Nigeria, and they all went out for him in 2023. Of course, it was like a game. There were certain things they didn't know how to do, and they were outsmarted. And I believe that this crop of Nigerians will still bounce back. If not 2027, by 2032, thereabout, I tell you that it will be difficult for anybody to change electorates in Nigeria, because it is very clear they will not take it. Okay, so
Nigerians are getting
they will not. The younger Nigerians, let me just sound a bit liberal here. All these boys with Dada and all these things, they will not take all these things. I'm telling you, they will not. There are a few distractions they have now. And the problem has always been that the Nigerian youth, they have a lot of distractions, okay? But by the time they push on with those distractions, and they are not, when they get off with those distractions, they will face the problem, and I tell you, at that point, they get to the breaking point, the problem will be solved. And then you will not come and steal their votes and all that and impose yourself on them, and they will accept it. So my candid advice is that Peter Obi should maintain, he must not jump out of Labour Party. It was not Labour Party that made Peter Obi, okay? It was rather Peter Obi that brought influence into Labour Party. The other thing again is that, politics is a game also, and you must know how to play your game. It's just like football. We have I can tell you Nigeria is one country that has some of the best players in football. But we've not been able to put one or two things together. That's why I can see how we are being, in Africa, how we are being pummeled here and there. But by the time we get our acts in order, Peter Obi should be able to assemble the proper team. And should think of how to get the political tact, because it's a game. Your opponent must not go behind must not be a step ahead of you. He will score you. Even if it's an offside goal, you will blow it as goal. Yeah. So he must not even allow you to score you, but he must just be tactful. Okay. So I think that he should be thinking of assembling his team and thinking of team players, people that actually genuinely committed to the cause of Nigeria, the building of the Nigerian nationhood, okay, and then there should be a teaming about that. But if they buy him and give him this to be a Greek gift, let me describe it that way, I say come and be president, we'll give you, come and under this coalition of people that have been part of you know what. So I don't think that he should take that step.
All right, I don't think that he should take that step. Well, I think I've seen someone who is actually giving hope to Nigerian youths, because Nigerian youths will keep telling you, we've been hearing, we are the leaders of tomorrow. When will that tomorrow come? I'm hearing from Barrister Joseph right now that if distraction is being put aside, then if not 2027, the next election after 2027 might be very difficult for these people who cross carpet from one party to the other. In the bid to get power, by all means, they may find it difficult if the boys get away with the distraction that we have. As we try to round up now, let's take you back to Rivers State. Some persons are of the opinion that all this drama happening in Rivers State is in a bid to make Fubara irrelevant as far as politics is concerned. Are you of the same opinion, or you have something different?
You know, of course, the game is just to divest him of that power, the glory of a governor, you know. And if possible, you know, they can even take him out of that place. But I pray that happens not. And Fubara, if I look at him, I wish, you know, this is about leadership. You understand? I believe that this is first time, and then he's learning a whole lot of things. And he's learning, I believe that. And I believe that this should serve him well. This should also teach him. There are ways he could have managed this thing. There are ways you would have managed this thing without getting to this point. You, as a governor, you are the alter et origo of the state. You know, you can cross over. You know, somebody asks a question. You can get even the people, the 27 and all these people say that they're fighting. You can get them on your side. Even Wike, I think he asked that question. That why were you not able to get even one of them? You are the governor of the state. You should be able to. Politics is not just about being the governor and then you are driven in a Land Cruiser with police and sirens and all that. No, you should go more than that. We are talking about leadership now. We are talking about how you are able to implement. Of course, you know, most times they don't have manifestos. How you are able to, you have an idea, you have something to offer, and how you are over to overcome the challenges and the numerous challenges that you have. Because of course, if you don't have that tact, you don't have that wherewithal, that wisdom, then of course you go down the drain. So I wish he was a bit more tactful. He would have managed this problem and put everybody where they needed to belong to, and it would have been difficult. There are governors who can't do this too, certainly in Nigeria.
All right, there are governors who can't do this too, certainly in Nigeria. Some persons are saying, well, it appears as if he is weak, but then, notwithstanding, this is where we have it right now. How relevant is Fubara going to be after this whole drama? Who is going to have the next grip in Rivers State? Many thanks, Barrister Joseph Agbo, for joining us on the program this morning. It's been a very interesting time, but then this is how much time will take us. Let's go on a quick break. After this break, Global Morning continues. We'll return after this break. Stay with us.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Money.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
Global Morning is your top morning show here on Global Television.
We bring you fresh news updates daily while delving into a variety of current affairs and topics.
Global Morning aims to deliver newspaper reviews, latest news with experts on key global issues,
and at the same time keeping you well informed about important events, both national and internationals.
Global Morning serves as a valuable source of information, helping viewers like you start your day well informed.
Stay connected from Mondays to Sundays to a wide range of the latest news making rounds on Global Money.
We're on the road to protest.
The president meets all of our demands.
This is Global Morning.
I'll turn attention to the Plateau State as some members of these communities are demanding action to stem the rising wave of insecurity in the community, even as governor of the state has also made moves in terms of tackling the situation. I'm being joined by a community member of this affected community, Hannah Rachel Mukhtar. Thanks so much for joining us this morning. I don't know what it feels like, even when you were not at the scene, but you've gotten feedback of what was the experience more of a like. Is this a recurring situation, or this is just the first time such an attack happening in that community?
Well, this is not the first time. I can't count the number of times that this kind of attack has happened in my community, in my village, in my local government. It's a recurrent attack that has been on for years. And it will interest people to know that this particular village we are talking about is just a stone throw from 3 Division Nigerian Army. A whole division is not far from where this incessant killing is happening. But what do we have at the end of the day? It's usually condolences, we are sorry, we'll try to bring an end to all these things. But for how long? I've lost a lot of family members, I've lost relatives, I've lost friends, I've lost count on the number of people that I have lost. When this news came, no matter how many times these people attack, every attack seems to be fresh, because you can't get used to things like this. It's a very pathetic situation. It's a very, I can't explain.
So how do we describe? Is it an elders clash? Is it what is the description? What's the feedback like? Or is it a religious issue? What is it? Well, I mean, all of this gathering, where can they point fingers that these are the enemies of this community?
Okay, I'm going to be very, very straightforward. This is not farmers headers clash, because you cannot have farmers headers clash with just a one-sided victim, because you would have victims, children, women, old and young are all victims. You cannot describe this kind of situation as farmers headers clash when you have just one-sided victims. So I'm going to call it as it is. This is ethnic cleansing. It's genocide. It is not farmers headers clash. It is not a fight between different communities. It is ethnic cleansing. It is genocide. It is happening right before our very own eyes. It is not just happening in Basa local government. It's not just happening in Miango. It is happening in Riom. It is happening in Mangu. It is happening in Bokos. It is happening in virtually all local government or everywhere on the plateau. We are not even talking about plateau states alone. We're also talking about other states that are experiencing such ethnic cleansing or genocide. So it's not just peculiar to where I am from.
All right. So when people said that the communities are always unprepared at the time where this attack is coming to them, is that the situation? Or have there been any, steps or moves just to be able to protect the communities, even when you are aware of such a situation that has happened over and over again?
Okay, this is a bit dicey, but I'll give you a scenario and an example. This is where I'm from. This is my community. So few years ago, I don't know if we can remember, in 2018, something like this happened over a year. Almost every night there was an attack. Almost every night there was an attack. And it seems the security agency can no longer protect us. So the youth of the community decided to go up in arms. Okay, since these security personnel can no longer protect us, we have to protect ourselves, because self-defense is my fundamental human right. I cannot sit back at home and allow someone to come into my house and kill me. I have to defend myself no matter how little it is. So the youth decided to go form a group to protect themselves, and the killings were a bit abated for a while, and then some of the security agency came up and said, no, you cannot bear arms and all that, and they ransacked the community and then disarmed these youths. Yeah, they were disarmed, and then in less than a week we were attacked again, and then we had so many victims. This did not just happen in Basa local government. It also happened in some of these local governments that are experiencing such attacks. By the time this youth goes up in arms and decide to protect themselves, at the end of the day, this security agency will come and disarm them. No, you are not allowed to bear arms. No, you are not allowed to do this. No, you are not allowed to do that. And then they will be disarmed, and we are vulnerable. We are vulnerable. Because
so that makes the community, vulnerable.
Yes, vulnerable and porous, yes. Because anytime the community decides to, okay, enough is enough, we are going to protect ourselves irrespective. In a week or in 2 weeks, somebody from the security agency will come and dish out a statement. No, you are not allowed to bear arms, it is illegal, and all those, they are gibberish. And they will go into the community and disarm the youth. and then give it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the attack will happen again.
So when this attack has happened, those persons flee away. You cannot even track anyone at all. Or does it look like they are residing within the community? Because that's what some people have said.
Yes.
There are informants within the community.
There are informants. Funny enough, in some of these communities, by the time this attack takes place, by the time the attack takes place, and then the community members decide to run away, to flee from their ancestral land. Okay, this place is no longer safe. They flee. Some of them are being camped in IDPs. We have several IDPs there in Jos. And then after a while, just give it a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and you would have other persons coming to settle in the community.
Those communities that were attacked?
Yes.
People from another community?
No. The people that spearheaded the attack will come back and then they will settle in that community.
In their houses? Or
yes, their houses. They take over their farms. They take over our farms. They take over our houses. They take over our means of livelihoods. And they are living in those communities that are ours. They are living in our ancestral lands. And there's nothing we can do about it because we are handicapped. That's the what kind of adjective am I going to use? It's pathetic. It's very pathetic. And then they come in and then they take over everything. Last year, when such attack took place in Mangu and some areas, and then these people came to settle, it was almost time for harvest. And they took over our farms. They took over our means of livelihoods. And we watched them, and there was nothing we could do. That's how bad.
So do you feel there can be a lasting peace in all of this? Because it's worrisome. More than 50 persons were killed. That is what has been confirmed.
More than 50 persons in just a single attack in Basa local government. Not just the local government, in Kwal. Yes.
So what can be done in addressing this issue from, the community approaches, or what the community have sat down to look, if government should do this, if this can be done, we may have peace? Or does it look like peace is never near in those communities? Or not realistic?
If we are to be realistic in this situation, the government can no longer protect us, because for how long? We are tired of the condolences. We are tired of the visits. The only thing they are good at is after the attack has happened, then dignitaries will come and then condole with us, and all. We are used to it. We are tired. We are tired, and it's obvious that they cannot protect us, because the first and foremost why these leaders are elected is to protect the life and properties of its citizens. But it seems that lives and properties are no longer being protected. There's this famous handler on Twitter, is it Zaz something? He said something. He said only 17 people have been reported to be killed in the attack in Basa local government. I was so pissed. I was so angry. I was like, even if it's just a single soul, you cannot just say only. You cannot just say only. The way these things are being downplayed is appalling. Since the government can no longer protect us, let us protect ourselves. Because it's my fundamental human right to protect myself.
Self-defense.
Yes, self-defense. The security agencies should stop disarming us when we decide to protect ourselves. A local vigilante should be set up to protect these communities, since the government can no longer protect us. If a village is not, my village is not big. It's not a massive, let's say a very big place. We are not even talking about the local government as a whole. We are only talking about the village. If a village as small as my village, that is just a stone throw from 3 Division Nigerian Army, cannot be protected. So you can imagine other villages that are far from military parastatals or security agencies, how they are faring.
So there's a need to allow those community members to have the position of arms to protect themselves. So you are advocating for, community policing, if you may call it that way.
Yes.
All right, because of time, I'm really afraid, Hannah Rachel, we do hope to have you again to recording these situations. We have so much out of time. Hannah is a member of the affected community. Of course, very sad situations coming from the plateau. We'll continue to track that reaction. She has advocated that is a need to allow the community policing, the vigilante groups, to operate within those communities, so as to also add to protecting the lives and properties of the people of the plateau. So that is our advocacy, and of course, many who agree and of course who disagree. But what matters is finding solutions and peace to the people of Plateau State, even the Middle Belt, the Benue area, and all of those Taraba State as well that have been affected by this situation. Thanks so much for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
Everyone, this is where we, of course, put it to rest here on the morning show. We'll continue to track the development at the top of the hour. We'll have the talk sports coming your way, and of course, business update afterwards. More on Global TV. My name is Edikan Michael, and earlier I was doing this with Ramsey. And thanks so much for being part of the morning show today. Bye-bye for now.
Welcome to Global Morning.
Death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure. Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call the police station, before they even leave, they take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
The struggle, the ASU strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a life. The president never gave me any deadline.